Well, the week is finally here. It is race week once again. We've got real racing on a real racetrack with real race cars to look forward to this weekend. And I wanted to take the time and follow the lead of some of my fellow NASCAR YouTubers and do a video dedicated to silly season predictions. I know it feels weird to be talking about silly season predictions 4 races into the season, but here we are. It's been a weird season, so let's go ahead and dive into it. Welcome into the fifth turn, everybody. Let's get down to business. All right, how's it going, y'all? My name is CJ Ward. Welcome into the fifth turn. So good to have you here. Remember, as always, you can follow the show on Twitter at Fifth Turn, also on Facebook, facebook.com/The Fifth Turn. You can send an email to thefifthturn@gmail.com. You can even follow me on my personal Twitter, which is at CJWard_24. So good to have you guys here. It's been a while. I know I've only done like one episode in the last 2 months, and that was just the other week to talk about Kyle Larson and all of that good stuff, or not good stuff, but you know what I mean. I wanted to follow the lead of some of my fellow YouTubers, including Eric Estep over on Out of the Groove. Go subscribe to him. He's awesome. He just did a silly season predictions video, and I know it's weird to be, like I said, it's weird to be talking about silly season 4 races into the year, but here we are after a 2-month hiatus, over 2 months. NASCAR is back. We're back to real racing this weekend at Darlington. Can't wait for that. Hopefully, now that I'm done with my junior year of college, albeit had to finish online, which was very difficult for me as an actor. But we made it, and now I have more time for things like YouTube and this show. So hopefully we will be putting out some more episodes. I guess now that we're doing midweek races, we'll do 2 episodes a week. That ought to be fun. But oh my, dropping my microphone. We'll edit that out. Anywho, yeah, so definitely going to be able to put some more time and effort into this show, which is gonna be very good. But wanted to take this episode and give you my silly season predictions, because we've got a lot of very notable free agents at the end of this year, a lot of drivers in contract years, and Eric made a great point over on Out of the Groove, which is that the uncertainty of NASCAR right now, not just NASCAR in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, but also the uncertainty of what the 2021 schedule is going to look like, obviously with the Gen 7 car coming pretty soon. There's a lot of uncertainty facing NASCAR and NASCAR teams, and Eric made a great point that may encourage some team owners to stick with what they know and not necessarily take some big risks on signing new drivers. So we may not see quite the change in turnover that we have been used to seeing in years past. Probably only going to be several changes, but they will be notable. And so this video is going to be my 2021 NASCAR Silly Season predictions. Going to go through every team in the field. First of all, sticking with going through the teams that I don't think are going to change, the teams that are going to stay the same, and then moving into the few teams that I think are going to make some very notable changes. So let's go ahead and dive into it. I'm excited. This ought to be fun. So starting with the teams that I am predicting are going to stay the same. You're not going to see too much change in these teams, and there's a lot of them. Starting with Starcom Racing, we already know Quinn Houff signed a 2-year deal with that team, so he will be in the 00 for Starcom Racing 1 more year. I also don't see any change over at Richard Childress Racing. Obviously, we know grandson Austin Dillon is probably going to be in the 3 for his entire career, and Tyler Reddick in the 8 is certainly helping to elevate the performance of that team. I think he's going to be around for a long, long time. In all honesty, he's probably the last hope for that team. I think he's one of the most talented race car drivers that has come through the sport in quite a while, and he's definitely going to elevate the performance of that team. So he will be around in that 8 car for quite a while. Sticking with the RCR theme, going over to their satellite teams, Germain Racing. Obviously, grandson again, Ty Dillon, going to stay in that car. I remember him saying a few years ago he's looking to make a career in that car and doesn't necessarily even want to move over to the full Richard Childress Racing, so that ought to be interesting. And then also, there's a possibility of Colleague Racing, their other satellite team, possibly getting their feet wet in the Cup Series. Obviously, they ran the Daytona 500 this year with Justin Haley, and they may pursue a more part-time or even a full-time season with Justin Haley in the 16 car. So that ought to be interesting. But as far as drivers, you're gonna see the same lineup of drivers out of the RCR stable for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. I also don't anticipate too much change over at Roush Fenway. I think Ryan Newman and Chris Buescher are going to be their drivers in 2021, as long as Ryan Newman wants to return. Unless, as Eric said, unless he just totally sucks this year after coming back from the head injury, which I don't anticipate happening. I mean, he put that 6 car in the playoffs last year and gave it a really, really solid run. So as long as he wants to stick around, I think he's going to stay in that 6 car, and you're not going to see change there. And then Chris Buescher in the 17, I think he's just a natural fit at that team, and I think he's going to stay there for the foreseeable future. Tommy Baldwin Racing announced their return to the Cup Series this week, putting Josh Bilicki in their number 7 car, and that's a team that has been so here and there in recent years. Their last driver was Ryan Truex for last year's Daytona 500, which they missed. So it's really hard to say if there's going to be any change in that team. So I'm just going to say Josh Bilicki will be their driver for a while. Joe Gibbs Racing is not going to see any change. You're still going to have Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., and Eric Jones in that team. Eric Jones, I know there's been a lot of predictions and rumors about his future and whether or not Coach Gibbs is going to give him any more time, going to take any more chances on him, because obviously with Christopher Bell waiting in the wings, now Harrison Burton coming up through the ranks, you got some very talented guys in the Toyota camp, and there's only 6 Toyotas in the Cup Series field, so you're running out of seats to fill with everybody. But I think Eric Jones is going to stick around at least one more year in that 20 car. He's won one race a year for the last couple of years. He won the Clash this year. So he's a very talented race car driver. I think he's going to stay in that 20 car. Over at Levine Family, you're not going to see any change. Christopher Bell's going to stay in that car. Hopefully he gets his season going. I mean, he's what, like 30? He's in the mid 30s in points right now after 4 races, behind guys like Ryan Newman and David Reagan, who have only run 1 race this year. So he's having a dismal year, and hopefully he can get his season turned around because he's a wildly talented race car driver. And then the other Toyota, you're not going to see any change either. I think Daniel Suarez will stay in the Gaunt Brothers 96, maybe help to build that team up a little bit. Obviously, the last couple of years they've had DJ Kennington and Parker Kligerman and guys like that driving that car. I think Daniel Suarez will stick around. Obviously, they're trying to go full-time this year if they can make every race. They missed the 500, but I think Daniel Suarez will stay in that car. A team that you're not going to see any driver change in, but Rick Ware, I think, is going to own the entire sport of NASCAR before too long, because he has just recently bought Premium Motorsports and Spire Motorsports, and there's some connection I'm hearing between that team and BJ MacLeod, who's now entering the Cup Series. So he's bought like a lot of those backmarker teams. So Rick Ware Racing / Premium Motorsports / Spire, you're not really going to see any driver change there. On the premium side, you're still going to have Brennan Poole in the 15, I think. I don't really see any change there. Greg Gaulding was just announced as getting a few races in the 27, so I think he's going to stick around for a while. Reed Sorensen in the Spire car, that doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. Over on the Rick Ware side of things, you're still going to have Garrett Smithley, Joey Gase, Cody Ware, and JJ Yaley, and those kind of drivers. So not really going to see any driver change in that team, but the team owner is buying everything left and right, so that is certainly noteworthy. Over on the Wood Brothers side, Matt DiBenedetto is going to stick around in the 21. I know it was only a 1-year deal, but he's just too good, and he is really, really showing off in that car. He's definitely going to make the playoffs, definitely going to contend for several wins this year. Would not be surprised at all to see a headline later on in the year about Matt DiBenedetto getting win number 100 for the Wood Brothers. It's it's just going to happen. It's a question of when, not if. Go Fast Racing, Corey LaJoie is going to stay in the 32. No problems there. Front Row Motorsports, nothing changing there. Michael McDowell, John Hunter Nemechek staying in the 34 and 38 respectively. JTG Daugherty Racing staying the same. Ryan Preece, Ricky Stenhouse seems to be a decent combination there. Bubba Wallace is going to stay in the 43 for Richard Petty Motorsports. King seems to like him, and as long as the King seems to like him and sponsors like him, Bubba Wallace should stay in that car. And then MBM, Timmy Hill, who is certainly achieving a certain level of fame and success on the iRacing side of things, having won the Pro Invitational race at Texas a few weeks ago. He's going to stay in the 66 for the foreseeable future. So those are the teams that I think are staying the same. You're not going to see too much driver change there. But there are 4 teams that I did not mention in that list, and that is what we're going to talk about now. Now, again, remember, this is just the Cup Series. I'm not going to dive into the Xfinity or trucks. I may or may not do separate videos on those. This is just the Cup Series. But there are 4 main Cup Series teams that I think are going to see significant change. I'm going to start with Team Penske. We know that Ryan Blaney has signed an extension. Joey Logano, I don't know his contract situation, but he seems to be safe. He's won 2 races this year, 2 out of the 4 that we've run this year. He is seemingly on top of the world. Penske is one of the best teams in the sport right now, I think. And those 2 are going to stay the same. But I think the car that you will see a driver change is the number 2, the former Blue Deuce. It's not blue anymore, but the number 2 car, number 2 Ford Mustang for Team Penske. I think Keselowski is going to be out and Austin Cindric will be in. The writing has been on the wall, I think, and Eric talked about this on Out of the Groove. There just seems to be mounting frustrations between Brad Keselowski and Team Penske. Teammate squabbles with bad pushes at Daytona and just conflicts there. And I think Brad Keselowski will leave Team Penske at the end of 2020. And they will bring up young Austin Cindric to be a part of that organization. Austin Cindric's future is secure with that team. His father is the president of the company. So he's definitely going to drive for Team Penske in the Cup Series one day. And I think it's going to be next year in 2021. Austin Cindric, rookie driver of the number 2 Ford Mustang for Team Penske. Moving on to Stuart Haas Racing. You're only going to see 1 driver change out of this group. Kevin Harvick is safe. He signed an extension. Cole Custer, I think, again, his father is on staff at that company, so he's fine going forward. I think Eric Almirola will be okay. There's obviously rumors about, he hasn't been performing very well. We saw what he was capable of in 2018 when he won at Talladega, finished 5th in the points that year. He really showed what he was capable of that year, and people have been slamming him for how mediocre he was last year, but they forget all of Stuart Haas sucked last year. Kevin Harvick got a couple of wins, but the whole team was significantly off last year, and they still are right now. So you can't put all the blame on Eric Almirola. The whole team is struggling the last couple of years, and so I think his future, at least for 2021, will be safe. Eric Almirola will stay in the 10 car. The driver change that I think is going to happen, I think this will be it for Clint Bowyer. We've seen how perfect the man is in the broadcast booth. The banter between him and Jeff Gordon in these Pro Invitational races has been priceless. He's already signed on to be significantly more involved in the Fox broadcasts on the Xfinity side of things this year. And I predict he will retire at the end of 2020 and move full-time into the Fox broadcast booth to join Mike Joy and Jeff Gordon as the full-time broadcast team of the Fox part of the season. And waiting in the wings in the Stuart Haas fold is Chase Briscoe, and he will be the driver of the Stuart Haas Racing 14 car next year in 2021, filling the former car of his hero, Tony Stewart. and that's just going to be a match made in heaven there. A lot of people have suggested Kyle Larson as this car, and as much as I would love to see that happen, because I would love for Kyle Larson to get another chance, because I think he deserves it, everything depends on sponsorship. And here's the thing with Kyle Larson. You know, people are forgetting. People always compare the Kyle Larson situation to Stuart Haas Racing giving Kurt Busch another chance, but people forget Kurt Busch had to go through Phoenix Racing and Furniture Row before he got that chance, and it's going to be probably a very gradual process for Kyle Larson. He's not just going to get thrown back into a top quality car as much as I think he deserves it. That's just not going to happen, because If he wants to get put in the 14 car, he has to get approved by Rush Truck Centers and Mobil 1 and Peak and Cummins and One Cure, every other sponsor on that car. If you want to throw him in that team, move Cole Custer to the 14 and put Kyle Larson in the 41, the car that is basically sponsored by the team, Haas. There's very little sponsorship on that car, so put Kyle Larson on there so that no sponsors have to take the risk on him, because from a sponsor, from a business perspective, it's going to be an insane risk to sponsor Kyle Larson. For the rest of his career, this is going to follow him, and people are always going to point to Kyle Larson and say, hey, aren't you that driver who used the N-word in that race? And any sponsor, any partner, any manufacturer that wants to get behind Kyle Larson is going to have to answer for that. And that's going to be a huge risk for companies to be willing to do that. And I just don't think, as much as I would love to see it happening, I just don't think Kyle Larson is going to get thrown back into a top quality Cup Series ride that quickly. I would love for it to happen, but I just don't think it will. I don't think we live in that world. So I'm saying Chase Briscoe will take over for Clint Bowyer in the Stuart Haas Racing number 14. Moving on to Chip Ganassi Racing, which obviously with Kyle Larson has been at the forefront of all of this. I don't see Matt Kenseth sticking around. Obviously, what drew him to this deal was the fact that we're running a much more condensed schedule, and he doesn't have to be away from his family for too long. Kurt Busch obviously is fine. He signed a multi-year extension with that team. Do we really even have to have this conversation? We all know the driver of the 42 car next year will be Ross Chastain, the Melon Man. He's still contractually linked with that organization and very much still in communication with that team and everybody there. Ross Chastain will take over for Matt Kenseth and Kyle Larson in the 42 car for Chip Ganassi Racing next year. That's just a no-brainer. This leaves us with one big team, and that would be Hendrick Motorsports. And here's where my theories get a little interesting. And I'm playing around here mainly with the question of sponsorship. And here's where I'm at with Team Hendrick. Here's my prediction. We know that Chase Elliott is fine. You know, that's like the golden boy of NASCAR right now. He's fine. He ain't going nowhere. William Byron is fine. I don't know his contract situation, but he's not going anywhere anytime soon, I don't think. We know that the 48 car is open. Jimmy Johnson has confirmed once again he will be retiring at the end of 2020. And I'm about to fill the 48 car for you right now. Alex Bowman. I know that sounds odd. Hear me out. Alex Bowman is the Team Hendrick driver that cannot find sponsorship to save his life. The Lumar and Cincinnati are his sponsors, but they're only signed on for a couple of races per year. Exalta and Valvoline and all of those are all Dale Jr. sponsors that are just still sticking around with him. They had to scramble like crazy to put together this Chevy Goods sponsorship package. Don't know how long that's going to stick around. If he wants to stay with Team Hendrick, he needs solid sponsorship. And the 48 car has it. Ally is signed on as the primary sponsor of that 48 car for every race of every year until 2023. Put Alex Bowman in the 48 so that the driver who needs sponsorship the most can be in the car that has it locked up for the foreseeable future. So, who's going to put in who are Team Hendrick going to put in the 88? Brad Keselowski. This just how fitting would this be? Obviously, Brad Keselowski was Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s protege. He was a junior motorsports driver in Xfinity, drove the 88 for all of those years. Obviously had a falling out with Rick Hendrick in the early 2010s. But I think they can put all that behind him. And again, Brad Keselowski, he has sponsorship. He has Discount Tire that is going to be very, very loyal to him. As if I'm not mistaken, Brad Keselowski brought Discount Tire into NASCAR. And I think they would probably go with him. They're an associate sponsor for the rest of Team Penske on the NASCAR side, but I don't think that they're really a primary sponsor for anybody else other than Brad Keselowski. They might go with him to Team Hendrick, and I think the 88 would be a perfect fit for him. Again, back with his old number and the car of his mentor. I just think that's a perfect match. So everybody's been saying Keselowski's going to the 48. And I agree he's probably going to end up at Hendrick Motorsports, but I'm predicting it's going to be in the 88 car because Alex Bowman needs the sponsorship that Ally can bring. So that's all I got. That is my Cup Series Silly Season 2021 predictions. Let me know what you guys think about all of that craziness down in the comments below. I hope you had as much fun watching this video as I had thinking through all this stuff and coming up with all of it. I'm feeling good about some of these predictions. I know there's only a few of them that are particularly big, but I feel good about this, especially this Keselowski 88 thing. I'm pretty confident that is a real possibility. So that's pretty much all I got for this episode. If you're new, please leave a like and a comment and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Again, let me know what you thought about all of this craziness down in the comments below. Remember, you can follow the show on Twitter at Fifth Turn, also on Facebook, facebook.com/The Fifth Turn. Send an email to thefifthturn@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with me that way. Hopefully, now that we're racing in Darlington this Sunday, no practice, no qualifying. All these guys, their first laps on track in 2.5 months is going to be lap 1 of the race. So chaos in turn 1 would not surprise me at all. That's going to be this Sunday. So hopefully I'll have a video out for you guys on Monday, time permitting. I'm looking forward to getting back to real racing. It's about time. I'm getting anxious for it. So hope to see you guys next week to talk about all things Darlington. Again, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys later. Take care, y'all.